Welcome to Beta Math.
Straight line or linear graphs. Take a look at this grid. This is the graph of y equals x. There's the equation, and there is the line. What does that mean? It means that anywhere on that line, the coordinate of x is the same as the coordinate of y. So we look at that. If we look at the x coordinate 2, we see that the y coordinate is also 2. Same for 3, 3, so on. Minus 2 for x is also minus 2 for y. Minus 4 for x is also minus 4 for y. And we can see that that goes 1 along to 1 up. Anywhere we look at it, 1 along, 1 up. Let's have a look at another one. This is y equals 2x. So what that means is everywhere on the line y equals 2x, the y coordinate is twice the x coordinate. So let's have a look at that. X is 1, so y must be 2. X is 2, so y must be 4. And if we look at the negative x values, x is minus 1, so y will be twice as much, minus 2. Similarly, x minus 2 leads to the point minus 4 for y on that line. So everywhere on that line, y is equal to 2 times x. We say that as 2x, of course. You can also look at that. Is anywhere on the line, if you look and draw a little triangle in your mind anyway, because there's more on the page, for 1 along, you go 2 up. 1 along, 2 up, and that's caused by that 2 in front of the x. Let's have a look at the next one then. Y equals 4x. That one means that the y coordinate anywhere on the line is 4 times the x coordinate. So if I look at x equals 1, then y is going to be 4. 4 times 1. Similarly, if I look at x is minus 1, I get that y is minus 4. So this number here, which is 4 for this one, 2 for this one, and it's 1 for this one, although we don't write y equals 1x, we just write y equals x. As this number gets bigger, so the line gets steeper. And again, if I look at this one, this 1y equals 4x, if I go 1 along, it goes 4 up in the y direction. So that gives us the slope or gradient of the line. Notice that they all go through the origin, that's the point 0, 0, because in each case, if x is 0, 4 times 0 is 0, that goes through y is 0, same for these two, goes through the origin. Okay, let's have a look at this one. This one can be written in several ways. It can be written as y is a half x, y is 0.5x, or y is x over 2. Another way of writing it. And if we look at this one, we can see that you have to go 2 along for x to go 1 up for y. And also we can look at it the other way around and say, okay, when x is 2, y must be 1, because it's a half x. When x is 4, y must be 2, because again, it's a half x, 0.5x, whichever way you want to look at it. If we look at the negative side, when x is minus 6, y is minus 3, minus 6 divided by 2, or a half of minus 6. So this one slopes less steeply because the number in front of the x is smaller than all the others. And again, as I said earlier, if you go along 2, you go up 1. Or if you think of it in terms of just 1 square along, it's 1 square along and half a square up. But it's easier to draw if you double that and go 2 along and 1 up. Okay, let's have a look at this one. A little bit different, not very much. This is y equals minus 2x. It slopes backwards. Let's look why it slopes backwards. When we put in x equals 1, we have to multiply by minus 2. So that gives us y is minus 2. If we put in x is plus 2, multiply by minus 2, and we get minus 4 for the y value. So when we join those up, again it goes through the origin, because when x is 0, y is also 0. And we can see this time that if we look at the slope of this one, down here, we go 1 backwards and 2 up. We go backwards because of this minus sign. So the ones with a minus sign in front of the x, that is called the coefficient of x. That minus 2 in this case. 4 is the coefficient of x here. So if the coefficient of x is negative, or a minus number, it means the line slopes backwards, like that. Then we can look at it, as I've been saying, that the gradient, which is the proper name for it, which is also the slope, is the change in y divided by the change in x. So if this line didn't have an equation and we had to find out what it was, we could use this little way of finding out what the coefficient of x is, that is what the slope is, by saying, oh, that's 1 square, that's 2 squares, so it's 1 over 2 or a half. Notice that if you're doing that and your axes are not the same, mine are the same because there's a centimetre for each number, but if the axes are not the same, you actually have to take the axis numbers, not the centimetres, to do that. Another grid, and again I've drawn the line y equals 2x on it. We see straight away that it goes 1 along for 2 up, like down here, 1 along for 2 up, and it goes through the origin, carries on 1 along 2 up, because it's got a gradient of 2, y equals 2x, or as we said earlier, the y coordinate is always twice the x coordinate. So let's have a look at this one that I've drawn. This one is y equals 2x plus 3. The first thing I can notice is that the slope or gradient is still 2. Because they're the same, these two lines are going to be parallel. So the blue line is parallel to the red line because the gradient is the same. And let's look where it crosses the y-axis. If you think about what happens when x is 0, for this red line, y must be 0. 2 times nothing is nothing. But in this case, y must be 2 times nothing plus 3. So it goes through plus 3 on the y-axis. Another one, y equals 2x minus 4. Again, because the gradient is 2, it's parallel to the other two lines. But this time, when x is 0, y is 2 times 0 minus 4, which is minus 4, which is down there. So, where this number tells us the slope of the line, this number tells us where it crosses the y-axis. The general form then for a straight line graph is y equals mx plus c. Now we've seen that m can be a number, c can be a number, and y and x are our axes on the graph. And we found out that m, the coefficient of x, that's the number in front of x, is the gradient or slope of the line. We also found that negative slope means that the line slopes backwards. And if you looked at the equation, it would look something like y equals minus mx plus c, because it would be something like y equals minus 2x plus 3. And if we look at c, it's called the constant term, and it's the intercept of the line. That is where it crosses the y-axis. And again, c may be negative, and the equation would look like y equals mx minus c, or something like y equals minus 2x minus 3. And as I've just given in the example, both m and c may be negative. So you could have a graph like y equals minus 2x minus 4. To do that, let's have a look at that on a little picture. This is the graph of y equals 2x minus 3. The intercept is minus 3, coming from here, and the slope is 2, 1 along, 2 up. And that's straight line graphs.
Thank you for watching.